They have so much to own up to, basically. So let's take a look at our map for the series. 7 map pool in general here. Competitive play. Oregon is one of them, by the way, but it won't be played here. Variety is the name of the game. Clubhouse is the map we're going to go to, and Guts will ban out Theme Park to take us to Club. I know Nora-Rengo banned Villa, but still a technical map to deal with, Hab.
And this is actually the 8th time in a row we haven't seen Oregon coming out, so it's starting to change up a little bit. But yeah, still a technical map. I'm just not really sure who will be taking this one, because Nora seems to be on the rise just a little bit, even though they're still struggling to close out some of these games. Electrify, you saw, almost managed to swing all the way back. And Guts, on the other hand, I'm not sure. They're not in the form they were prior to the major. So I hope they fix their mistakes, because otherwise you might just see them being tossed around on Club.
The thing is, the last time that these two teams hit heads on Club, I believe it went into the favor. Yeah, it was a 7-2 to Guts Gaming. So they played each other on Club in the latter half of the first phase, and it was the opening game, and it was a heck of an opener for Guts. So if there's anything that can reignite them and bring them back into a bit of fervor, or if there's anything that Nora-Rengo can kind of say lessons learned, let's see them learn.
Yeah, I actually, like I said before, I have a lot of expectations on Guts. Nora-Rengo obviously have fallen very far from what a lot of people that might be tuning in every APAC Day. We kind of need to preface this before every day. Like, yeah, this is not the same Nora-Rengo that you saw almost 2 years ago now. This is a pretty much completely different squad with the way that they play and all. So I'm just very curious of what they need to watch out for on Clubhouse against a team that is usually as organized as Guts is, Hab.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's not the same Guts that we've seen in Stage 1 either, and Nora-Rengo has been improving quite well. They've been more methodical, more, well, able to play on those refrags and really playing into the strengths of their lineup as, of course, that frag-heavy lineup. Of course, the results are not there to show it quite yet, but the signs of improvement are there. And thus, I'm not expecting to see another 7-2 for Guts here today. I'm thinking that Nora-Rengo is going to be able to put up a good fight, considering how things are currently developing.
The spread of it, too, as well, is always worth looking at and noting, is we have a kind of different meta. Not a significantly different meta, but there are a couple of tweaks and a couple of changes that affect certain maps. And I would say Club is maybe the most effective with the addition of the new hard destructor. With that change in Thatcher, too, it kind of redevelops what is already the most impactful thing, an economy on this map, which is your hard destruction. Now, when we look back at the game where it was a 7-2 before, Guts started on their defense, took 4 and locked down most of that as Nora-Rengo struggled. Here, or if anything, they were sturdier on their defense. They didn't start on it, but Nora-Rengo only managed to get 2 of their defense locked down. Here, they're, I'm assuming, going to be starting on their defense again, and I'm wondering if this is something where it's going to be more of a leaky bucket problem, because there's more hard destruction on the board for them.
Yeah, what is this? I mean, unless you're bringing Thermite and you blow up your own teammates as they're running through server for a rush, usually you'll be fine. Ace Thatcher combination is so huge. Even when you don't have a Thatcher, there's still your alternative of Kali that we've been seeing quite a bit of on the block here, Hab.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have seen quite a lot of Kali, mostly coming down, however, towards the map of Oregon, of course, or Theme Park. You often see it creep in as well. Because in Clubhouse, there's just so many different ways you can actually deal with it. If you're talking about Jim, you just open up the window, you shoot off the mute jammer on the bandit charge that's there. If you're talking about the CCTV, well, you just go from below, put up an impact from Zophian. You're going to be able to take out whatever is underneath there either. So it is really not that necessary to bring a Kali here. For example, if you talk about Oregon, it's really hard to take control of the basement because there's no verticality that you can use to open up these walls. And the same goes for Theme Park, as there's only a little bit of opening that you can create to get into Armory Throne. So I don't think we'll see too much Kali here.
Fluke, expectations. Let's talk about defenders for a second here. Anything that needs to really be worried about defender-wise? Maybe Paulus here and there. Malusi has been seeing a lot of play, and yesterday we heard it even in an interview with the EU. Like, it can be pretty annoying to deal with.
Yeah, well, that's entirely it as well, especially in a region like this. If we're going to cite how attacker favorite it is, or how attacker heavy it is, there is Melusi now, and she stops and she slows and she stems, and you have a team like Guts who, during their kind of previous appearances, lived up to the Guts that they kind of flaunted. They would charge in, they were quite brash and bold at times, and that is what stems her. And well, let's see if she steps up today.
All right, thank you so much, Hap Fluke, my king and queen. Let's toss it over to our casters. Another king and queen today. Des, Jess, all yours.
I'm so happy. Finally, we got called a king and a queen round here. What the hell is this, Jess? It took too long.
You know, I think they're just a little jealous that we actually live as a king and a queen, and they don't. They just envision it, which it's a bit of a shame for them.
If we're a king and a queen of the whole world because we're on other sides of the globe to each other, does that count?
Right. Yes, I think so. And ooh, look at this nice
like
new
that.
snazzy
Shiny.
graphic. You know what that means, ladies and gentlemen? That's your social vote. You guys can go to R6 Esports APAC and vote on every single one of these matches throughout the night. 57% for Guts, 43% for Nora-Rengo. We jump into Clubhouse, and it is my favorite map in the competitive rotation. Let's see exactly how Guts pull it apart, and Nora hope to keep it together.
You mean it isn't Oregon, Jess? After all we've seen it, it's not your favorite? Are you okay?
You just couldn't get Oregon out of my mind in the first week. That was the big upsetting factor, was I even dreamt about it.
There's definitely a problem there with his entering the dreamland. That's where you meant to rest and be away from Oregon, but it is gone here. Clubhouse, as we mentioned, is the map we're heading to in the first one. Guts kicking things off on attack. And for these two teams, there is a lot of shared history between them. For a lot of the Japanese teams, Cyclops included, a lot of players have jumped between these rosters over the years. No doubt these players are very familiar with each other. They used to play each other back in the Japanese Pro League. So I think the familiarity here is going to instill both sides with a little bit of confidence, and I'm hopeful for a really good game today. The ace being taken away first, looking towards their oh-so-popular Hard Breacher and the Monty. No big surprise, we do see that come away against a good number of teams, both here in APAC and back in Europe.
Especially on Clubhouse, we talk about Monty and how popular he is, especially to be able to take rafters in Garage. It's a really hard part of the map to take, and to be able to take very quickly. Getting rid of the Monty means, well, you're able to hold that part of the map for a longer period of time. That's what the defenders of Nora-Rengo are hoping for, and that's why you're also seeing both the Mirror and the Valkyrie get away. The less intel, the better, I think, here, and they're still going to have a lot to play with. Echo is still auto-banned, so we've got to be a little bit careful of that. That will rely on things like Maestro cams. Maybe we'll get some bulletproof cameras. Who knows what we'll see, but I'm really excited for this particular matchup. We still have Thatcher in play. This means that maybe they can rely on not bringing a Maverick, but I'm glad they are bringing it because Kaid hasn't been banned.
It's one of the ones we're keeping a very close eye on as a pairing is the Kaid and the Thatcher alongside each other. So sometimes when you see that the Thatcher gets banned away, Kaid becomes a must ban in the second stage of things. Otherwise, some walls or hatches are most definitely going to be staying closed. With both left open here, don't think we'll see too much Kaid coming out, mind you, as the Thatcher will be employed in this first round for Gym and Bedroom. Very much the offside on this map, but for both of these two teams, or at least for the side of Nora-Rengo, looking to do something a little bit different, maybe throw the side of Guts off their scent. And one thing I do want to touch on with Nora-Rengo very quickly. They are a team, to me, that kind of sets the bar of what's acceptable in APAC. And I'm not saying they're all the way down the bottom, they're a low team, they're rubbish, whatever else you want to say. I think they bring about them a limited amount of strategy in places where it can be quite weak, but their gun skill sits at a certain level where teams that are below them just cannot stack up against that capability. And I always wonder, like, throw back to the old days of Nora-Rengo from SI of last year and how they shaped up back there. When are we going to see that return to pace? And part of it did come down to them just catching teams completely by surprise. I think if they can get a little bit more strategy to their playing, have a more team synergy, you might see them stack up and be a really big team. But as of yet, across both stage 1 and stage 2, that has kind of eluded us. We haven't seen it all this time.
They haven't really given me any of that wow factor where I go, yeah, Nora's a top 5 team here in APAC North. I've never really felt like I've said that, and I've said it confidently, which is a shame because Nora-Rengo used to be the name in everyone's mouth when you spoke about the APAC North region as a whole. But nevertheless, they've got an opportunity here. Even if they don't stack well here in the last stage of this particular year, they'll probably stay on in, and then they can give us something to sort of talk about next year when we, of course, go into stage 1 of 2021. And as we get into the start of this particular round, I think the biggest thing here, now that they've worked out that it's Gym and Bedroom, which, I mean, win rate here is 50-50 for Nora-Rengo, but small sample size. And, well, that will get open. The Maverick did make it soft so that Lily could bust it on open with the skeleton key. 2 minutes left on the clock. That's a really important wall opened up. Now, do they do a really hard cash hold here? They got Papilia. They got the Malusi. They're making a little bit of a crouch walk hold here. And there you go. That'll get opened up. Late use of the smoke means that'll be a wasted one. And I don't know whether or not they just want to completely give up on the cash side and challenge the crossover, or whether or not they'll just focus all on the gym side.
The fact they should be able to get this open up towards the right is showing some good pace by the side of Guts. They are ignoring CCTV altogether. We know that some defenders like to hold in that room, so you can't play on the south balcony, which is often why you will see attackers force control of that side of the map, so you can have members on the south side who then look to threaten into sight when the execution time comes around, usually in tandem with a push coming in from the jacuzzi wall, which has already been opened. So you can see the game plan here from Guts, but to me, you haven't dealt with the player that was around CCTV. It's Meryu in this case who's now pulled it towards the north and is contesting onto this hole. They can sit here all day long if they want to. The problem is the kills are going to start happening elsewhere. Lily picking up Papilia to kick things off out towards the west, it seems. In fact, that was in the bedroom site. So that's one man down. It is the Jaeger. It's not the end of the world. They've still got all this utility and, of course, a couple of smoke canisters left on Simatuki. So it's not over yet for the side of Nora-Rengo, but already off to a bad start.
Actually, Papilia was rotating down. He was playing on those red stairs over towards CCTV. He rotated down, got caught off by the Buck, who was making, those verticals below, but a good pick nonetheless. He didn't have C4s to deny the plant, and the hatch wasn't open, only a little bit of vertical holes. Oh, Simatuki misses the legs through that drone hole. What a shame. He could have stopped this impending execute, which is about to go down.
Here we go, pushing into Jim. Then two have now forced their way in. There's one also coming up the stairs, so there are three members of Guts all bearing down on the site here. They don't even know that Simatuki's here. They're not even going to look. Here we go. Oh my god, he whiffs the shot completely, pulls out the shotgun, but finds nothing for it. Plank can now go down as Meryu is entirely by himself, and that's a 4K for Lily in that round, I think. Great burst into sight from the Buck player there, and a fantastic first round for Guts.
I love how he came zooming in, confident enough to even reload. I mean, I remember when they added you could cancel reload by aiming down sights, and it was one of the best small changes to ever be put inside this game. And I always forget, even back when I used to play competitive, that didn't exist. If you wanted to stop the reload, you had to switch your weapon, which was just too much time to be able to do so. So when I see someone running and reloading, I think, hang on, what if you've got to shoot someone? And it still hasn't dawned on me. And that tiny little change allows players like this to be able to stop that reload midway through. And that's a good little entry, as you said there, for the Buck. And that's going to give a round to Guts. I said, what did I say, the first week of stage one, when we first were introduced to these teams in what we would consider their new form to the international stage, I said Guts was really disappointing with their objective-based play in the research I had done of them. In the first week, the first two games of week one, stage one, phase one, they managed to plant like 4 or 5 times. And they completely blew all of my prediction out of the water that they would be a frag-heavy team. They've done a lot of work. We get into stage 2, and you can tell that they're one of the strongest objective-based teams in all of APAC North. So I think when you're Nora-Rengo and you know that Guts wants to focus on the plant, that's why they didn't even contest CCTV. Why contest it when you're so focused on getting that plant down in gym? You don't even really need. Do you need the control? Are you going to put someone on gym window? Nah? Okay, no problems. Don't even bother putting that much utility that way. Go get the plant down. That's what they did. And Nora-Rengo needs to read into that better. Maybe have some C4s below. Maybe focus on denying the plant, which Guts hasn't really been contended on thus far.
I'm mildly surprised that when there was no one ever contesting CCTV, the wall wasn't opened up, there was no one coming through garage, and Meryu could have alluded to that and said to the team, no one's coming here. They're coming instead through construction. They've committed the MAV there. That clearly is where they want to start their attack from. Yet Simatuki inside of gym was constantly putting his focus onto that window. You saw the number of times he was spinning around in paranoia, concerned that someone might come breaking through. And yes, that is a very real threat that it might happen, but the fact they don't have control of CCTV would have made that such a gamble for the side of Guts that clearly Nora-Rengo were not ready to capitalize on. Unfortunate for them, but that was a very good first round from Guts. Here in the second round, we're seeing the focus come onto this east wall as you would expect, with CCTV now being the site. Otherwise, it feels like it's pretty much business as usual. This wall has been opened up, and I love how, once again, actually, we spoke about this yesterday, that we'd seen the Sledge and the Buck being brought along in tandem. He's seen the Buck entirely by himself, something we haven't really seen, apart from maps like Consulate and Coastline, because with the removal of those frag grenades all that time ago, Sledge just always seems to be the better pick. But of course, the Buck is much safer at range.
It's also interesting how the attacks are able to get that wall soft and open at almost exactly the 2-minute mark, 2 rounds in a row. This bodes really well for the attackers, gives us a lot of time to put pressure onto those defenders. Speaking of, that's Papilia. He's in garage holding off on these rafters. That's why you have a, what do we got? A Monty ban. That's why you get rid of the Monty, because pushing up on the rafters with the Monty is too easy. But if you have this weird setup here from Papilia with this tiny little angle.
Pixel.
It's tiny.
It's tiny, but it could be enough to find a kill. Imagine if he gets the counter shot through this pixel. I will be astounded if I think it's light out on the other side. There you can see the cap in the overlay sticking through. There comes a grenade singing in. Not going to connect. The second one rolls out as well, and you can see the magnets going down all around him, even with these grenades ringing in. Not being caught out, but the shield has now been destroyed. Drone comes up, and Papilia, wasting so much time here, down to 45 seconds, and after finding the opening kill, has not yet been caught out. You can see Guts putting all this focus on the south side. They've got 3 pushing into Garage, Jess. That is absolutely the play. There we go. Shoot is going to collect him, so now Garage is free. They've got garage control. They're now looking out towards the CCTV wall. They've got the right elements, and all of Nora-Rengo pulled way back towards the north. It's almost baiting out a plant here, so they can play behind these C4s.
Yeah, I'm hoping that that's the design that they're looking for here to be able to deny the plant. They've only got 15 seconds left. It's not a lot of time to get this diffuse down. They need to get in behind the bomb chassis, but something is pinging them. This is in Nora-Rengo's favor here. Some reason the diffuser went through the CCTV window instead of garage, and that's a bad look for Guts. Finally, that C4 rains through. Didn't come from below, but it came from somewhere, and I believe it was Cash in that last 5 seconds. And, well, that's the last place you expect a diffuser to be coming through. CCTV window is opened up to one of the most egregious angles from Cash. You would almost always be ensured that you have that diffuser running across the red line of sight, which you can do, 7 or 8 times out of 10 pretty safely, or through the garage rotate. Instead, for whatever reason, that diffuser was out CCTV window. Grave mistake.
Big time mistake, and that was a good round from Nora-Rengo. Admittedly, a slow one by the side of Guts, given the pace at which they moved in the first round, with 2 walls opened up by Maverick inside 90 seconds. That one felt the same, except they didn't account for the fact that Papilia was inside a garage and knew they needed that garage control to go for the default plant. Took them a lot of utility. You saw all the magnets being thrown out there, the grenades they had to burn through in the process, the Zofia concussions coming out too. I think that shield made things slightly difficult for them too, because you can't just run up and challenge him without first destroying that. So you had to make sure you had 2, 3, 4 members all pushing Garage at the same time to effectively clear him out. And that ran the clock down to about 45 seconds left to go with an execute, and you still had to deal with 2 C4s coming out of the side of Nora-Rengo. I like how defensively they played. They knew their win condition, play for the C4s and deny the plant. Good play from them, brings us up to 1 apiece. We now go back over to Jim and bedroom rather than going downstairs, which is quite an interesting choice. We'll see if this time around Nora-Rengo can be more aggressive out towards the east. It looks to be a similar plan with the reinforcements going down out and towards CCTV. Like you always mention it, so you have control of the CCTV window that looks out across the entire south balcony and makes it so defenders can challenge onto the aggressors who are looking to play on the windows leading into either of the sites. Restricts options, makes life a little more comfortable for the defenders on site. Nice and simple, and adds another aspect of the game that the attackers need to consider.
Hatch is open this time, and Yushingo wants to get that spore pick, and yes, he will. And guess what? It's onto the Zofia, one of the fraggers here of Guts. Lily's still alive, however, so the impact on this site last time is still there if he can be as hefty as he needs to be now, because, well, they've lost a bit of utility. Big thing here, Evil Eyes will stay up. That's the big thing that's playing on my mind right now, Des, is that, okay, they don't really have that long-range impacts that they would need to get rid of those Evil Eyes. Last round, they were being spotted by something. This round, I guarantee that plays again, so they need to be very time-conscious, because you don't want to be getting spam spotted in the last 10 seconds.
Well, a lot of focus out on towards the CCTV side. All 3 of those Habana X-Kairos being committed. And that is to do what we mentioned earlier on, to clear those defenders out of playing inside of CCTV and force them back towards the site. So less of a focus on Guts on taking a shortcut here and just going for the construction wall instead of pushing in far from the east side. Given they're already in a 5 versus 4, mind you, and you've got to deal with 2 roamers out here towards the east. Oh my god, now 5 versus 3 as Meryu collects a kill onto Crazy Papillon. Worst thing being that you've now lost that Thatcher as well. Like, admittedly, maybe more focused out towards the east, but you've got nothing on site now to deal with the ADSs, with the magnets if you can catch them in the radius, whatever else it might be. This is looking pretty rough, given they don't have too much left to go and break through this hold of the Jaeger and the Wamai together.
There comes the run across over into behind the CCTV racks. Papilia calls out and says, yes, they're already in. Grenade will sail and get rid of the barbed wire, which is great, but it doesn't mean much because Papilia knows he can rotate down. Last time he did this, he got caught off guard by the Buck player. This time he wants to catch the Buck player off guard by rotating behind him. Shu will pick up Mariu, and that is one C4 off the board. Great pick here, but Papillon and Yura are down, so the number count is still in favor of Nora-Rengo. This means Papilia needs to come up big here. The Jaeger player here for Nora-Rengo needs to step up, make an impact, and make it now.
Pilly's managed to get himself back up through garage as well, so admittedly a little bit late, 10-15 seconds prior, and he could have caught himself a kill or two, but look at this window. This is what I was talking about, and sure, it's a late round flank up, but he manages to strike big time here, and bringing down Shu out on the balcony puts this all in their favor. It's going to be, I thought, a trade at the end, but it's actually Soulboy getting the closing kill onto Lily as he picked off Apilia in the same amount of time. Good from Nora-Rengo. Once again, quite happy what I'm seeing defensively here. That late round rotate from Papilia. 10 seconds sooner, he could have caught a couple inside of CCTV, but I'm sure he's very happy with finding one out on the south balcony too.
I think that's the big thing, is that if you're Guts and you say to yourself, yeah, I'm not going to put anyone on the windows because it's a real hot zone and we don't really want to take that CCTV control, then that's okay to commit to that like they did in the first round, and they did that quite confidently. But don't change your mind come third round and then go, yeah, we'll do a weird kind of CCTV take. We don't really clear the roamers because Papilia was able to rotate down. They knew he was there. They had no idea where he had rotated to. There was a flank drone, but it was back to front on the top of rafters next to the garage window, so it couldn't really have called his position. It's not a great way of playing that, especially when you're down on time. Time constraints here are what giving Guts the loss. It's why Nora-Rengo is one round up. And I don't even think that Nora-Rengo are playing this at a much stronger rate than Guts are. I just think that Guts are just letting the time get ahead of them over and over. It's like a Q confirm curse all over again.
It's the small things as well, and although it didn't really have a massive impact in that round, and I know I keep on coming back to this whole CCTV window piece, but often in Europe what you'll see is a Hibana player open that up and just sit on the rappel out towards the kennels, rappel out on the balcony, and sit there and just watch that window. You have nothing else to do, but they committed all three players to pushing aggressively because of those time constraints that you mentioned. They're kind of in that panic stage where it's like, well guys, we've got to make this happen. We can't leave one player sat on support watching the angle for us. All of us have got to go for it and accept that risk, or they just didn't think about the risk, one of the two. Either way, it's another round the way of Nora-Rengo, and that's after 3 rounds down. We saw Guts, of course, take that first one with emphatic fashion. A 4K for Lily. The last couple looking very decisive for Nora-Rengo, or admittedly, more being lost by Guts than won by Nora-Rengo is the best word to describe it, but let's not discount the small things that Nora-Rengo have done in those rounds to get them to this point.
I'm really happy with the way that Lily's playing as well. I think that his understanding of how Buck works and the conservation of that skeleton key is really important. They did buff his skeleton key recently because they did take away his grenades, so you don't have to be that conscious, but he still plays it really consciously, and it's good to see someone perfect an operator that way, especially one that's come out of the meta a little bit recently, so that's good to see. 2-minute mark and they're getting that hatch open because there's no roam, and well, any roam that was going to exist down blue is now gone. Neuro will cap that off with a really good shot. I almost feel like it's meta Des to have your Zofia player push blue. I don't know why, but I see teams in every region, the Zofia player for some reason is always the one to challenge blue.
I think it's because there isn't really any utility you have to challenge into out towards the west. You haven't got to burn through ADSs or magnets, for example, when trying to open Church Wall, because defenders just don't hold inside of pipes. Whereas out here, you've got to consider the fact that there's Malusi gadgets, there's barbed wires, there's normally always, excuse me, there's always ADSs on the stack, for example. There's a lot you need to get through, and yes, Zofia can't do it all by herself, but it's just a threat that you can do in removing those things that are closer to you. You saw the Malusi Banshee a second ago, as well as the barbed wires being out there. Absolutely something you can help with. Either way, the whole team is tearing apart Nora-Rengo here, down to, oddly enough, a Jaeger who's still alive this late in the round. That's an unknown entity, I think, here in these games. Simatuki on the smoke has been put down at the same time, so this has been one hell of an attack coming out of Guts, completely closing into the side of Nora-Rengo, and there we go, a flawless round coming out for Guts. Very good control from them, a bunch of kills being collected from these vertical angles, and of course from the Zofia out towards blue. Almost of Nora-Rengo not being fully aware of where the threat was coming from at any given time.
No wonder Nora-Rengo didn't want to go to the bottom floor for those first few sides. I kept wondering, why go back to gym? Why not try Church and Arsenal? Hey, it's a pretty popular side for people. Probably because they peek every single angle under the sun, even when there's a buck directly above you and you decide to throw an impact rather than, I don't know, shoot the buck above you. I'm not sure what they were thinking there. Maybe that's just a really weak site for them. Would absolutely explain what I said before. Now we will move to CCTV and Cash, and this time I'm hoping that garage control becomes the precipice here for Papilia. He says, I've got a really cool and disgusting angle with this shield on the particular rafters. That's great, but you can't rely on that 100%. You had last time, I think it was, 2 or 3 people, 1 from the door, 2 from underneath pushing. You can't hold that solo. You need a bit of team play. Whether or not it's someone, I don't know, maybe challenging from bottom red, maybe garage door, some punch holes in the wall towards lounge, something to give some kind of assistance and pressure, because that's the power position of this side.
This could change because it was the pace that you kind of called out last time we were on this site and said, hey, pacing has got to improve here. You're just leaving Nora-Rengo to play behind those C4s with 15 seconds to go when your execute actually starts. A lot of the kind of play, I think, got held up on the fact that Papilia was playing inside of the garage. So I'm hoping here they have a better method to deal with him quicker. They account for that issue a bit earlier on. You can see him already stacked up behind 2 ADSs inside the garage. Got the shield in. I was going to say that's a very different shield. He's trying to play for the pixel peak, I imagine, through to the breach here.
Yeah. If we can get a first-person view from Papilia, that'd be great. I want to see whether or not he has been able to achieve that. We'll let him place his magnets first, of course, and see whether or not he goes back to that angle. Shout out to our beautiful observer. And he's going to pick it back up. Yes, beautiful observer, Easy. Thank you very much. We don't have medics in the building at the moment. We've got Easy, our beautiful Dutchman, and no, shield will get replaced. So I think what he was trying to adapt to there was the fact that last time he challenged an angle out onto the breach, and he's wondering whether or not it's a little bit too risky to do that again.
I'm curious here, when you committed so much in towards garage, you're currently still playing and staring out towards the window. I'd hope that he's now gone back into garage and has got himself in a spot where he can start contesting from those longer angles. There he has. Thank you very much, Easy. That puts him back in a spot where he can contest the doorways. Even actually moved the shield again, has he? Where's it gone now?
No, it's gone into Cash. So he's placed it over for the Cash red angle for Yashingo there. There we go. Thank you very much, Easy. And as a result now, I mean, we're at the halfway mark of the round. And guess what? I asked Nora-Rengo to give Papilia assistance in garage. Now Merriu is down there. This is great adaptation. This should stall them out a lot.
Not just that, it's the fact that they also have the walls behind them electrified. And in the last round, it was a couple of members that got inside one of those 2 garage walls and then came swinging across and managed to help Shu pick up the kill, I think, who was actually playing on the breach out towards the east. But the 2 members from below with the grenade presence, that did a lot to threaten Papilia and help them get control. So I agree with you. Really like that they're changing what they're doing here. Committing another operator plus a couple of electro cores in towards the garage. Big deal for them in this round, but how long they can hold on for? That's the big question. Whereas, however, they're putting an entire focus out towards construction. We have seen a couple of teams do this. Admittedly, have already got the East Breach open at the same time, but there we go. Euro's going to pick up the Kaid. He was trying to be a little bit cheeky, I think, trying to peek out and see what was going on. Going to get collected for that one for free. And the rest of Guts are now looking to go for this execute up towards the north.
Did he run out of gas there, or is that construction wall still together? It didn't look like they had got it, but it doesn't matter. A grenade will sail through and get Simatuki. And that means now with 25 seconds left, the defense is looking very weakened. Crazy Papillon, he'll bust on in. Love that particular weapon from the AR of that Thatcher, and it's all up to Papilia. We said this was a power position. Yes, it is, but not when the plant goes off in Cash. All of his rotates are cut off. This is going to have to be an absolute monster. And, well, it won't be. And I was a little bit concerned when I wondered where all of the players had gone from the breach initially, but it was to do a pinch push, and that's good when you've got good time management and you've got good angles, power angles to hold, especially over under red. That grenade getting Simatuki might have been the key to opening that site up for them and allowing the Thatcher to rush in and really take advantage.
We complimented Nora-Rengo's adaptation in terms of their defense, and I feel it's only fair to do the same for Guts' attack there. And they completely discarded what was going on inside the garage. They sure got the 1 kill because Euro was sat watching the angle in case there was anything crazy going on. They had no one playing out on East Breach. Everyone moved over towards construction, and when the execute came through, it's a complete and utter counter to what we saw Nora-Rengo doing last time. They can't sit back to the north. They can't play behind C4. Sure, you might try and play inside a CCTV, but given Euro would have relocated from playing in spawn to be back up on that East Rappel to watching into sight, you simply can't play behind them anymore. So good adaptation from Guts as well, and I'm liking that we're seeing both teams changing things round to round. However, this is the last round of the half that we'll see Nora-Rengo or Guts have that chance to outsmart each other before we get to see how Guts do on the defense.
Well, it's funny looking at the stats here of Guts, especially on Clubhouse. They've got 4 different play days to look through statistic-wise, and they're almost 50-50 attacking and defending sided. So it could go either way here. Either Nora-Rengo step up the pace there on attack and really give it to Guts when they're on defense in the second half and get those rounds back that they've lost here, or they turn around and they lose that traction. Maybe defense is their half, maybe it's not, and things will flip. But the biggest thing here for Nora-Rengo is if they can walk away with a 3-3 going into their attacking half, that's the best they can ask for, considering you're starting off on essentially a clean slate for the second half.
Does spell good fortunes for Guts to have these 3 rounds on board, though, from the attacking half. I think historically we'd always look at maps like Clubhouse and say, oh, defender leaning, and now that Ace is out, maybe you balance things out. Given he's banned away, this is I don't want to say an old style game of Siege, because it really wasn't all that long ago that Ace wasn't in the game, and he will of course draw bans no doubt as time goes by, but it is that kind of old feeling where you should be saying, yes, Clubhouse should generally lean more towards the defenders in this case. However, with the focus being on the upstairs sites for the most part, I don't know if I'm really prepared to commit to that, given these sites of course face out to external facing walls or windows. It becomes a much more aggressive opportunity to push, given the proximity to plant for the attacking sides.
Well, Euro, we've seen him do heaps of damage down the blue and secret storage area onto Nora-Rengo before. It was Papilia who died last time, and this time I think he wants to catch him again. But if I'm Papilia, I'm sitting very steady behind the big electrical box there, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly what he'll do. No way he gets caught off guard this time. Light will make quick work of that particular hatch over on top of Moto, and as a result, now that will be open. I'm unsure whether kitchen got open, and last time it was the Buck who was making really quick work of that. They don't really particularly have a shoe in place to deal with the hatch yet. I think they want to get rid of the impact trigger below the hatch before they deal with it.
I think that's part of the plan. We know how long you can stand and fight around the kitchen hatch if you do have the impact triggers below. Hey, look, it's Papilia doing Papilia things again. Last time it was a garage flank late into the round. Here he's actually still on the upstairs and maybe looking to come down main stairs to cause some damage.
Huh, I wonder how he got up there, or whether he was up there the whole time. We didn't manage to see it, but we've seen, unfortunately, time and time again, a really slow rotate and flank from Nora-Rengo, and he's doing that exactly here now. He hasn't seen any flank drones. Yeah, but this is the big thing. He could be really slow.
There we
really
go, and he
effective.
strikes.
There we go. Pink
Onto light.
Panthers. Where's the calls, boys? Let them know. We got a flank, and that's 2 free kills for Papilia after, well, a nice rendition of the Pink Panther.
Pink Panther flank, I'm calling that from now on. Incredible for him to find 2 kills like that, and for Guts, who have looked so good up to this point, this has pretty much torn the round asunder. And sure, you might not need the Maverick anymore, he's done his work. Same for the Thatcher, but guess what? It's still 2 less guns on side, and all the more work for Shu, Lily, and Yura to do. Papilia finds another, almost makes it a 4K, puts Lily down to a slither of HP. That is how you have an impact in one of these rounds. And yes, sure, round number 1 was a Lily 4K. This almost turned into a Papilia 4K. Yura's going to find Yashingos. He's found his way inside of blue. Finally, Lily's going to go down. It's all down to Yura by himself, and I think we know how these rounds conclude when there's only 3 seconds left on the clock. He's going to sit still and not bother challenging anything. Good round from Nora, or should I say for Papilia?
Sort of redeemed himself there on the last round of defense to go, hey, I know that all those times before I rotated really slowly. I didn't have the impact I probably should have had on the flank, but this time I'll make up for it by almost netting us a 4K. That absolutely just threw the round into disarray and really netted that entire round to Nora-Rengo when, quite frankly, they had no business winning that round. So one single flank of one more my player could do such huge damage. Probably shows the big weakness of Guts there is that they got really bad flank drones, let's be honest.
I mean, the last thing you expect is going to be a flank drone coming from above, I think, in those cases. You're like, okay, cool, we found out what's going on. Although the one thing I would give lean to, generally flank drones are pulled off when you know all 5 members are on site. When you've droned out there are 5 there, when you know no one's playing off site and no one's trying to catch you at the backside, you don't need those flank drones. You can commit them towards the site. So I agree with you, actually. With knowing that there's only 4 players on site, which no doubt they should have known, surely the question came in, where is that 5th player? Where is he hiding? Is he up dirt? Is he trying to flank? Like, what's going on? We need to have a response to this.
Nice little replay there. Unfortunately, it won't contain your little Pink Panther theme music for it, but I'm sure that'll go in a replay somewhere, somehow. And now it is Guts' turn to show that they can be as effective on their downstairs as Nora-Rengo were on theirs just a round before. The biggest thing here, I think, for Guts is that their defensive sideness on Clubhouse specifically, they've had more play days, they've probably had more practice as well in a competitive setting to be able to refine this, is that they probably aren't as careless with their ability to hold a site. You've got the clash in play as well, so I'm hoping that they turn around and really turtle this. If they do leave someone to go lurk off of site late in the round, I expect it to be Yura, but we'll see.
Tactics they have that they can play behind here, and sure, it's only one C4 to make use of, but the amount of time you can waste on the clash, and that was almost the big downfall for Guts in the first half, was the time wasting element of it. So it's about seeing if we can see Guts repeat the same thing on their defensive side, or otherwise Nora-Rengo just a little too hot for them. Only 40 seconds in, and you wouldn't expect to see too much coming out just yet. It's more actually trying to get inside the building rather than starting to get to work on the hatches themselves. I'm curious as to why they're heading upstairs here, given we are on the downstairs. They've already got the work done on getting the open, but otherwise I'm thinking, okay, what's the goal here in being upstairs? Is it making sure there is no one upstairs? You can see the drones whizzing around main stairs right now. I'm just not convinced that Nora maybe droned out the top floor in the first place to make sure it was clear.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shame. Pre-placed drones in the prep phase can save you a lot of time, and then trying to rely on it in the first 30 to even 60 seconds to make sure it's clear is not the way to go about it. They've lost a lot of time, but it looks like Papilia will be the one to challenge down blue with, dare I say, and yet another Zofia. Simatuki will be there to pinch from Oil Pit, and I think the good thing here is that they've got two fraggers jumping on in. Drone will spot Yura. That's an easy pre-fire, and now, well, that's the entry onto blue they needed. They've been able to spot out one of the Evil Eyes. It's in a really easy place for Papilia to deal with. I think the reason is they don't know if there's an ADS. That flash onto him, though, will confirm there is none. Evil Eye goes down, and now it's the clash to deal with.
This is the problem, right? You've dealt with the one that was playing inside of blue. Now you've got to deal with another one that is peeking towards blue. It is that clash. And think of the information that she's feeding here back across the team. Light popping out with the shotgun and bringing down the sledge. Not the end of the world here. I imagine a lot of his work has been done already out towards kitchen. Nora, though, is one of the teams that I've criticized in the past, especially on maps like Cafe, for being a little bit too slow when it comes to getting control of the vertical angles and then starting to go for an execute. So here I'm keeping a very close eye on that timer. Yes, they've got themselves the opening kill. What can they actually do with it?
Looks like Meru has the diffuser and he's over towards the church wall. He's opened up a little bit of a line of sight and he knows someone is playing in behind the desk. A good little peek from the pulse, but he'll get shut down very quickly. Light, he's doing all of his own work towards Moto, but it'll be shut down as well. And it's Shu and Lily alone here, but with the Elder and a clash pinging the locations of everyone, still very possible for Guts. 17 seconds left, Des. This is a monster of a task.
Not when Simatuki steps up and get a 4K, unfortunately. He is the monster in the closet in this case, who steps out, scares the living daylights out of Guts here. Takes the first round for Nora-Rengo on the defensive side. This again will be one of those rounds that I put down in my notebook as a good round for one player. I will still add an addendum to that and be saying here that Nora-Rengo still played it pretty well. I think they managed to get themselves the opening kill. Yes, lost the trade back after on the sledge. You really want to keep alive for those vertical angles, although, as I said, probably had done most of the work already. The rest of it kind of came down to Simatuki doing the right work in the right amount of time. Whether or not Nora-Rengo could have pushed forward and got those kills in the same way that he did, that could have played out as being a really bad round for them, if not for the one player. So we'll keep a close eye on that and see how the next round goes to really get an assessment of how Nora-Rengo's attacks are shaping up. And given how it started with them still having to drone the top floor because they didn't do it right during prep phase, that does give me some worry.
Yeah, you can't, like I said, you cannot be using 30 to 60 seconds trying to make sure the top floor is clear when there's a couple of really easy drawing spots at the top of bedroom, etc., of those stairs to place a couple of drones and say, okay, first 10 seconds, sit on your drones. Yep, no one went upstairs. We're good to go in. It's as simple as that sometimes. Or you get maybe your flex player to drone in those spots like kitchen, stock to get the hatch over towards bar. It's a little bit of missed time management that I think that they need to work on. And now, yet again, we will see an SSG roam. This is not going out of fashion at all whatsoever. And I'm really, really excited to see their flavor of it here over in APAC.
We see it a lot. I shill it a lot. I stan it a lot. I'm always a big advocate of this strat. Admittedly, hasn't always worked super well, and I think it was Fnatic actually at SI. I remember their variant was to bring Capcan along, because often the response by a lot of teams to, oh, they're playing the SSG strat, just rush, lol, burst down dirt, burst down blue, whatever it might be, let's go for a rush. if you're all trying to push through a doorway at the same time and you run into a cap can, that is a good few hundred hit points being taken off you collectively if you aren't too careful. So I always like it as a setup. It does slow down those more aggressive teams. I think for LATAM, especially when they came up against them and knowing how they like to just burst onto site in some instances, it was a good idea. Here, like you say, I'm keen to see how it steps up in APAC. I think we've seen it once or twice last season, but most definitely wasn't the super popular strategy that it has been in some other regions.
Yet again, they're going to use the first 30 to 40 seconds to work out what the heck is even going on. What is the setup? Where are the players? And at the moment, it's just drones. 1v1 comes in. Who's going to win this one on Garage Door? It's Yura. And that is bad news for Nora-Rengo here. They could trade it back, but almost the complete entire HP here of Simatuki gone. I don't think he knows he downed Yura either, which is a particularly interesting one. He won't be able to get picked up surely because Yoshingo is all the way over in stock. No other teammates nearby to be able to revive him, so he should die out at some point. But the fact that they don't know that he's there is a big one. Mutes above and a good headshot onto Yoshingo there. I said no one should be able to come pick him up, but what poor droning is this? I just don't know what's going on with Nora-Rengo.
Very questionable passage of play there coming out of Yoshingo, where he first ints a drone straight into a multi-pass, knowing there was going to be one on steps. So maybe he was doing that to take the hit for his team so they could get drones down. Fine. To then run across, knowing you've got a mute and a Mozzie upstairs that you have not yet cleared out, you're going to get caught by one of them, either later in the round or at the point where you're trying to make the cross. And now it's all down to Simatuki by himself. That's a flawless round for Guts, and that is the price you pay when you try and bypass / completely ignore an SSG roam strat.
Like I said, they drone for the first 30 to 40 seconds. How can you not know that someone's above? It's the SSG roam strat. It's literally in the name. You cannot not know that they're roaming. And I don't know what they did with their drones. We saw a couple get shot over towards the moto hatch, over towards kitchen, and okay, maybe they ran out of drones and thought, let's just start face checking stuff like they did on Garage Door, for example. Not the way you enter, especially when there's a huge roam going on. Really, really surprisingly bad play from Nora-Rengo. I used to shield Nora-Rengo, especially when they knocked me out of 6th Invitational 2019 during the groups, you know. What a barn burner that was.
Though, Jess, was it?
Oh, come on, please. We were almost at our peak there. Come on. But no, they used to be a powerhouse. They used to be feared by a lot of teams, a top 5 in the world team at the time. And for them to turn around now and be making these rookie errors is really upsetting, I think.
It's a tear in her eye. You can hear it in her voice.
Because I used to shield them. I used to shield them real bad. And I understand it's pretty much a brand new roster. Lost a lot of those old OG players. But this new roster has the potential. And I wouldn't be sort of grilling them as hard as I am unless I thought that they really had that potential.
We'll see if that potential will ever be awakened, because as we said back at the very start of the game as the intro, we haven't really seen Nora-Rengo step up to be the team that we all remember again from last year at SI. It's been a wild time for them, I think, since Waka retired or stepped away from the team. They are still trying to find that form that they once had that got them so close to tasting glory on the world stage. Most definitely tasted the glory of capturing everyone's hearts. I think we all remember exactly the kind of interviews we got back then from Kazoku and how lovable all the players were as well. It was a big moment for them and something they've been chasing ever since. Whereas right now it's Fnatic, of course, at this year's SI that kind of started to take away that mantle from them, should we say. But we'll see if they can wrestle it back by the time the end of stage 2 swings around. Here the focus from Nora-Rengo, no doubt going to be on the CCTV wall. Lily almost getting tagged out in his retreat back, unluckily. We'll go down to about half HP. It's not the end of the world. He's still alive. You've got Euro looking to play some assistance lower down inside a garage. So taking a leaf out of Nora-Rengo's books, where they had the Kaid in here last time with the electrified walls. What they've done is set this Vigil in here to make that drone game, the intel game coming out of Nora-Rengo, a little more questionable.
That mute jam is on that double garage wall. We'd seen Nora-Rengo electrify it last time. This time the mute jam is on there, but nothing that a Maverick can't completely blaze through. And now they need this garage control. It's almost deja vu again, but on the flip side here. Guts want to be able to hold off the rafters. Nora-Rengo want to snatch that particular spot. Do they rotate over to construction and do what Guts had done? Yes, that looks to be the plan.
Yeah, but peaceful to start with. The fact that the only shots that have been fired were damaging rather than killing. This has been the slowest round when it comes down to opening kills so far in the entire game. Everything else generally has come in the 1:30 to 2 minute mark. It's been pretty rapid, I guess, all things considered, given it is a clubhouse map. Whereas this is much more patient, much more strategical coming out of the side of Nora-Rengo, and you can even see with 2 players backing entirely out of playing inside of construction to get back on those drones. One thing I'm slightly mindful of is, are they going to get any flankers coming up? I don't think they will, on the sheer basis that you've got Ash downstairs who's about to clash with the Vigil by the looks of it. Yura is creeping up main stairs. Does Simatuki not know? Has he not seen him? He will see him very shortly, that's for sure.
Maybe he does know. This angle is very
Look
aware.
down,
Yep, that makes me think he knows that is coming. Whether or not it was the Vigil scan lines, the only place he could be coming from. And they know each other's there almost. It's like they've got this sixth sense about each other going, yeah, I know you're there and I know you're there back, says Yura. This is a very tense standoff. First one to shoot may die here if they're not careful. And, well, it's all going off on side as well as this Mexican standoff happens on main stairs here. Simatuki wants it and he'll get it and he won't be the one to go down. And Nora-Rengo, well, they've kicked off a gunfight here. 3-3 apiece, not the peak you want when a buck's zooming on through. Can Yoshingo get this kill? 5 seconds left. Mario needs the plant. It's an elder burr through the wall. And now Light, can he get the plant? No, he can't. That could have stopped the round. That could have been a round for Guts here, but looks the wrong way. Bomb Chassis hides him, and Mario gets off the plant at the last second to be able to get that kill. That's a dangerous decision, I think, to get off the plant when you have, what do you have, 3 seconds left? Something really tight like that? Ooh.
We saw Pengu come off a plant, flick on someone and get back to planting within a second, so hey, it's perfectly possible. I've got to ask, though, what was that Alder imitation? Goes brr, what did you say?
Look, I'm not very good with imitating the sounds of objects or animals or anything like that. Do you remember my dolphin imitation? No, that was last night. You weren't there. I went over to my family's. Quick story.
Good thing I wasn't.
I went over to my family's. There's this game that we play where you have to get your duo to guess the word that's on your card.
Oh,
and you're allowed to say the word.
Right?
Articulate, yeah. And I went over to
Great
games
game.
night the other night and quickly played that with some of my family members. And the word was dolphin. And I said to my mother, who was my partner, I said, you know, it makes like a sound, and she lost it. And of course, because I can't make the sound of a dolphin.
Sounds like a seal going,
yeah, I know. And I said, it looks like a shark, it makes this sound, right? So yeah, I've been very conscious of the fact I can't make the sounds of anything.
Well, it's almost like that gunner's jam, because if I ever hear an Alder go brr brr, I think there's a very serious problem. It's not quite the sound effect I had yesterday. I appreciate the intent there, Jess, but
Thank you.
we'll work on this after class, okay? Anyway,
Thank
back
you.
to school. Nora-Rengo starting to ramp up towards a win here, potentially. I'm feeling it's going to go to overtime, and I'm sorry to curse it that way, but I feel with the way it's currently set, with Nora-Rengo picking up a couple of these attacking rounds so far, Guts still have the ability to force us through to the 6-6 and send us into overtime, given they are on the defensive side. That last round, I love how late it all came down to it. The first kill came in at 18 seconds. The rest of it just turned into an absolute explosion on site. There was that Mexican standoff, as you say, and otherwise, it was all about site execution. There were 2 games of Siege being played there, one for the ranked warriors, one for the teams in this competition.
Yura's got that C4 prep, because what happens is once that wall goes soft and the Maverick is sort of right next to the wall, that C4 will be able to explode the wall and him. So they'll net a free kill doing this. Generally, you'll see the smoke trying to sort of bait back on him. And Yura, will he go for this C4? No, because I think why the Maverick had backed up was he heard that C4 rip. And Yura now is getting challenged from multiple sides.
Good adaptation there to stick someone on the south, or at least to spray the window out, to again create that phantom pressure against Eurus, to remind him, if you step out and throw that C4, there's someone near this window to give you a bit of a problem. Of course, there is no one there, because Nora-Rengo do not want to expose themselves on the south balcony without first getting control of CCTV. It looks like with the Zofia and the Thermite out there is some pressure or some intent to clear out CCTV in the garage area, so they can start to push in from the east side as well. So they're making sure they've got both parts moving at the same time, with one hard breacher out towards the east, one out towards the west, and looking to pull in together.
I really like this shield spot here from Papillon, because he's got the ADS to assist him, so no one can really displace him from the hatch without cooking it. And he can sit here quite comfortably because he won't be seen anywhere from bedroom unless someone takes it. And at that point, well, you're probably not going to be sitting behind the shield. Great angle to hold the hatch. It'll be up to Simatuki now. Does he cook the ADS, send down one of his Ash charges, get rid of the shield? Yes, okay. Don't know how that concussion went off with an ADS there. That's interesting. Maybe that will give them the phantom idea here that that shield doesn't have an ADS. We'll see, but it's Light's job to move them back.
There's one of the flashes going around the corner to try and burn through the ADS. I think they are conscious it's there. However, Crazy Papillon's conscious, and Meryu brings him down up on the hatch. That's the diffuser on the roof as well.
Oh.
I think most of the members already from the side of the attackers have actually dropped down in towards this floor to start their assault going in. It's going to have to be someone getting back up on the roof to collect that. There's only 30 seconds to go, so they could try and play for the frags. But my God, is that going to be a risk?
That's a really good flick there from Papilio, and it looks like it's Pokemon here for the Maestro. They've got to work here on logistics. They know they have to. Hello, there's a shield there, Simatuki. Look up, my brother, but it doesn't matter because guess what else is
Not
up?
again.
The Diffuser and the guns of the Jaeger, and that's a really good set of kills there. They have to go for frags. No Diffuser in hand here, Des. This is all up to you, Shingo. Can they do an Elder? It's spraying all over. I can't do the sound for you, but oh, Guts in the breath of the last second. Able to capitalize on the fact that the Elder doesn't need reloading. You'll never hear the sound from me again, but what you will hear from me is a little bit of an applause there for Guts, because that was scary.
The fact that it comes down to the 1v1 starting as the round ends just shows how close that was going to be. But I kind of praise and also criticize Nora-Rengo in the same beat there. 2 players died recovering that diffuser. Both peeked the same hatch. Both died to the same player behind shield. And Simatuki, as you called him out, ran straight into logistics, knowing there was a shield in there. They droned it out. They've been throwing grenades at it the whole time. I don't know if they assumed that he had left, that he had retreated. But either way, they were completely wrong. And Crazy Papillon with 3 kills in that round. Unbelievable to think they were literally that close to losing the round, despite him pulling off such a hero play inside of logistics. Very, very close between these two teams. We sit at 5-5. I said that I think overtime is on the way. It does feel one step closer now.
This is Guts' opportunity now to play off that little bit of a beat. They got a little bit of momentum now. When I say momentum, I say that very shyly, I think, because I don't really think that round was very confident for them. I know they can feel that as well. They almost lost it, and they wouldn't have known the diffuser was on the roof. They wouldn't have been able to see it. Only we could have seen it with the perspective view, but nonetheless, they would have known that it came down to a 1v1 in the dying seconds. Had it have not been an Elder player, I actually think that player would have been down to probably an aggressive gunfight there at the end, which he might not have won. So they're very lucky it was that Maestro to be the last one alive, be able to spray down that buck. Otherwise, this could have gone very differently. And now that we go back downstairs, last time we saw this push, it also ended in a bit of a flurry, a bit of a, dare I say, mess. And for Guts right now, their biggest opportunity is to be able to stall Nora-Rengo out before they can get further down into blue and also onto that church wall.
Another start to a peaceful round. I like it. When there is silence for a few seconds, I'm just like, let's be reminded, it's not all blood and gore here in APAC. Sometimes things do breathe a little bit, and we do get to see setups actually starting to come into fruition. Starting out with the bar hatch, no doubt that kitchen one going to be part of the game again, but we touched earlier on impact play from both teams. We haven't really seen a war over the kitchen hatch come to light, but we do have 4 impacts between the team of Guts here. So they have options, they can deny it. And I'm hoping Nora-Rengo are at least aware of that. We've touched on their droning a few times and not being aware of who's playing on site and who's not. Here, at least, they should have that information and know, okay, we need to be able to clear them out before we even look to go for this. So let's get Shingo doing some work here and trying to help us clear out the player that's inside of Arsenal.
Make sure that camera is well out of commission. Shot it about 100 times. There goes one set of X-Kairos, and no challenge onto the impending impact trick, which was absolutely likely to happen. They even had a drone on him, one that the Maestro hasn't seen yet. Now they'll finally open up some of those lines of sight above it. Grenade will sail in, and that's the appropriate way to counter an impact trigger. Get a flash so that hopefully they flash out, there's no ADS, send a grenade in after it, and then have the X-Kairos go off at the same time. Requires quite a bit of coordination, but it always ensures that hatch gets open, because to impact trick it, you need to be right under the metal trolley, and that's right where that grenade will sing down.
There we go. They have managed to start forcing him back, and there's the opening kill coming in. In fact, they kill each other. A perfect trade of Yura onto Papilia. Both members removed from the board, the Zofia and the Wamai. Damage into both if the Papilia hadn't gone through all of the utility, but also for Yura if he had any of those magnets in the back pocket, or indeed a couple more to recharge as the round wears on. Simatuki is going to assume blue duty, as we touched on earlier on. It's always a Zofia trying to push down this angle. I'm looking towards the timings here. Mario picking up Shu. That's with the Maestro gone now, and they can see the feet stepping in front, but no, he gets spotted out first, and it puts it down to a 3 versus 2. Meryu is injured, but should get recovered here by the other player that was with him inside a kitchen. 15 seconds to go, and it's all going to come down to this do or die execute. Who takes match point? Who has the pressure going into the final round? It all comes down to this. Light stepping up to go for the challenge, loses it out. It's a 1 versus 4. Plant is going down. Can he swing? He does try, but Meryu is there ready and waiting to collect the kill, and it won't be a last-second win for Guts, unfortunately. Great angle from Meryu here through the kitchen unit to make sure they could not deny that planter who was going down below. Good stuff, and Nora-Rengo take us through to match point.
There's several teams, even in APAC, all the way to NAL, EUL, who don't have that kitchen hatch presence when they go for a plant. They have everyone drop down and try and swarm side. I disagree with that particular push. What Meryu was doing there, I think, is the preferred way to be able to hold a planter, especially if you haven't cleared dirt. What he did there was pretty much save the round for his team, because by the time, if he had to have dropped and got the trade and then get the plant down, he wouldn't have had time. There's no way in the world. So his position there is a power position. I love teams who focus on being able to have that. Not sure what went on. Was it the mute or the smoke at the end there who shot through Moto and tried to challenge main stairs? I don't think that was the play, because if it was the smoke, couldn't he have used these smoke babes through the big rotate they'd open between Church and Armory there? That would have been my thought process. Focus on your job, focus on the utility that you have. That is your role. That is why you are one of the last alive. Interesting that wasn't the thought process.
And thinking as well that it is one of the strongest pieces of utility in the dying 30 seconds of a round, and nothing really started happening there until that 30-second mark hit. It was a slow round. We touched on it and saying, hey, these things have slowed down a little bit. Both of the last 2 rounds, the opening kills have come around the 45-second mark. So it's been a slow breathing couple of rounds, but it does put more pressure on the attackers, and as we said, that's when you really see the power spike for the smoke kick in, when he becomes really effective, assuming of course he hasn't burnt those smoke canisters in silly places a little bit earlier on. To commit down to this final round, Guts are going for the thing that worked for them last time. They're going once again for the SSG hold, realizing that trying to play this on-site presence didn't work too well for them. Nora-Rengo a little bit too strong. Now it's on Nora's side to be able to adapt here, because last time they could not deal with this strat. They ignored the top floor, they got peppered from the top of red stairs. Things did not go well for them. So I'm keen to see here how their tactic changes, and if they can get it right first time.
Yura wants to challenge onto the storage door very heavily. In fact, even to the point where I believe he's assisted in opening it up. Simatuki is very aware that someone is there, ready to challenge him. And I don't think Yura's had quite as good effect as he has wanted to have, especially with challenging these players early on in the round. Papilio will shut down Papillon, and I almost speak it into existence. No impact here. In fact, the impact's been had straight back. This does not look good for my predictions. This almost certainly looks like a Nora-Rengo round, especially when you lose Yura, one of the big fraggers. You lose a C4 from Crazy Papillon. We saw him when he roamed top floor on this particular side, all the way to red stairs. He had such a huge impact on the lazy droning. Now, they kind of gave them the freebies and didn't even require the droning for it.
Looks fantastic for mine. I'm the only person on the whole team who predicted Nora-Rengo to win this game, given what we saw from that. Absolutely, given what we saw from Nora-Rengo recently in the gun skill department. I mentioned the strategy needed stepped up, and in a few rounds here, we have seen it arrive. And in that last attacking round, I think a very good example of it was a very well executed kitchen take. In this round, it's looking good, as you say, 2 kills coming in for them, dealing with the mute and the Jaeger. But Yoshingo's just gone down up top as well, no doubt being challenged, I'd expect, by Lily on the Mozzie. So something else to deal with. They are, however, inside of sight. They're in a spot where they can start looking for a plant. That ping has just come out, Meryu. He's going to ignore dirt and try and go for the plant, and surely Lily, who's now back down, must know about this. Can they get in and deny this? C4 comes out, but the plant goes down, and they do not manage to deny it. However, he swings in from the doorway, does manage to bring down the Maverick, and with Yoshingo now back on his feet, it's a 4 versus 3 for Nora-Rengo in a post plant. Lily's going to try and stick this one out, but will he find time? Does the side of Nora-Rengo? No. We're down to 2 seconds. He does get brought off by the Zofia. Yoshingo connecting the shot. Now they've got control. In they come. Nora-Rengo take the win, but it's another close game, going up to 7-5, and hopefully this is the start of a turnaround for them, because today they've looked good, but there were a few shaky moments.
I also want to point out there, as we sort of do end this particular matchup that has gone in the way of Nora-Rengo, I did not predict this in any way. The biggest thing that we saw there in the last end of the round was he actually used a grenade to mask the sound of his footsteps coming into that particular box for the plant, which you don't often think about. You go, okay, yeah, he ran into sight, they should know this. Well, they couldn't have known always, because he got rid of the the bulletproof camera with that grenade, and the grenade masks the sound of his entering and some of the flare. Really smart play coming out from Mario there to be able to get that off. A concussion stopping the defuse in the dying seconds. That's a gnarly way to end a round, but that was a close one there for Guts, and something they'll be reeling on.
It's a gnarly dude. I mean, absolutely.
Gnarly.
If that concussion didn't come through and take him off plan, that round was done.
Yeah.
It would have been going through to overtime like I thought that it might. But Nora-Rengo, the one who walks away the victor today. Guts, their fellow Japanese rival, falls down a little bit further, and Nora-Rengo start their slow and steady ascent up the table. Let's go to our analysts and have them break down some of the rounds in that game.
Unfortunate loss here today for Guts against